Officially open with Bears in Space in New York. So, we've never done a talk back or post-show talks with Dublin Ireland for this show before, so this could be a total shitstorm. But let's see what happens. We're very lucky to be joined by our good friend Ross Dungan, who's a writer who's had plays on here before with his company 15th Oak. We've all worked with him in different capacities, and we've known him for far too long. So thank you very much, Ross, for agreeing to do this at the last second. Anyway, so I'll leave it over to you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for staying behind for what will be hopefully a quick and painless talk back. I am quite sunburned and I have a bit of sunstroke, so we might go to you guys a bit earlier for questions. If I start rambling, please just jump in. It's all.
We went to an NFL game today.
So, first question on everyone's lips. Guys, how are you finding New York so far?
Owen?
Great. Owen lives here,
I live
so
here.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's been a week and a half of like settling in, but now we're finding more time to explore this beautiful city.
Cameron, have you been to any interesting museums? Owl? I attempted to go to the MoMA the other day, but it was a little bit too close to our cold time. So I've been plotting it for a while, but I went at like 6, and our cold time was 7. But the queues were very, very long for the bag check, which I didn't realize. So I got my bag in, and then I kind of started suffering the fear as I saw the kind of like line to get the bags out. Because that was incredibly long. So I kind of needed to rejoin that queue. And then I left the theatre. But the moment's great.
That's what we call a leading question. And Aaron, New York, have you enjoyed it so far?
We went to an NFL game today.
Guys, just a question about the company Collapsing Horse and about you four. Owen, I might throw it over to you to answer. But how did you? Oh, we went to an NFL game.
Go the Horns. That's not a team.
How did you guys meet? And kind of how did the company Collapsing Horse kind of come to be?
We all had kind of been in various. We basically met in college, so that's like, the rest of this is going to be really uninteresting. But we had been in various, like we'd done various little shows together, and sketch shows and like improv and all that, you know, all the normal kind of stuff. And then at the end of college, Aaron built all the puppets for the entire show.
And the set.
And the set, yeah. And the camera.
Yeah.
And about 6 questions I'm going to ask.
And so I think Aaron wanted to do a version of Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood with puppets, and I wanted to write a show. I had written a couple of things, but never like a full-length thing on my own. So I was like, why don't we write a show together? And so we started writing a show about a monster who was like. Who lived under the Vatican and baked Eucharist.
Yeah. Which was actually the Borax puppet that initially. The first puppet that I made was like a sort of monster who was going to be the protagonist of our first show. But the story of the Eucharist baker.
We realised that there was actually a monster under the Vatican.
Yeah.
The Eucharist.
You're right. Was all
We
over.
realised that there was just going to be legal issues.
Yeah, Dan Brown had already kind of looked that one. So
He's a great friend and a fan of the company.
That's a very dorky joke.
they're all dorky jokes. So anyway, that like kind of basically snowballed, and we got Matt on board, our producer, and he got like a director, and we got, is Cara Malley here? Yeah, Cara was actually in the show, in that show. I thought I saw you come in. Yeah. It's been like 4 years, hey?
I was very emotionally attached to the Volyova puppet.
So he played the puppets kind of we use again. Anyway, so that show went well. We started touring it, and then we just kind of made more. We made a show for children then, and then it kind of just went from there basically, and we kind of just found ourselves in the theatre company pretty much.
Long story short, though, you met in college.
Yes, every interview likes to emphasize.
Myself and Owen, we actually met buying the same shirt. It's kind of one of those moments where you're in American Apparel, and I was like, that was. Let's work together.
Something I have to ask you about, as tempting as this question will be to throw over to Cameron, I might ask you, Aaron, about the puppets. How much do they cost usually to make as well, specifically because these aren't really materials, these are things you basically find around your house and turn into freakish oddities.
Yeah, the first puppet I made wasn't for a Collapsing Horse show, and that's the Borgash puppet that Owen uses throughout the show. And I just made that from towels that I stole from my mother. I just glued them all together and just made like a sort of a little bear. And then when we started doing Monster Clock, which was our first show, I made everything else from stealing more towels from my mother and taking whatever was lying around in the workshop in our drama society in college.
So we are running a drive for towels.
Yeah.
So anything you can give, please. She has been unable to dry herself. I mean, I didn't.
So just to I don't think we spent anything on the puppet building budget in the first show. But what we did spend money on was to buy materials for miniatures. Because for the first show and for all our shows, actually, we've done a lot of like scale changes and stuff like that. So you see something in like 6'6", which is like the human size form of everything, and the puppets are obviously they're like 3'9" or something like that. I'm talking scale now. If there's any design heads in the audience out there. We would then zoom in. And do like a sort of like you saw with the model box we would do like a sort of a sort of zoom in into a smaller version of what we see in real life, and that's the thing that costs money because we have to buy like sticks and stuff like that.
Our production manager, by the way, got us a gift of tiny Emma, Jane Austen's Emma. Yeah, very nice present.
It's mentioned in the play. So long story short, puppets don't cost anything. We make college. Puppets don't cost anything, but when we try to do scale changes, that costs something more.
Could you not just buy like kind of hand towels, like smaller towels?
Wise.
I think that probably warrants a round of applause, the fact that you make all of these puppets for addition. Thank you, Aaron. The show bears in space. I suppose I have to ask the obvious question: where did the idea come from for Bears in Space? Was it inspired by all the other material about bears in space? A zeitgeist thing that dripped down, or where did it come from?
Well, I mean, obviously it's oversaturated at the moment.
Yeah, it's a dense market.
Yeah. But confusingly, there is a Muppets in space.
Yeah, it's in space. Yeah. We actually started making the show without knowing about that.
Yeah.
Which is really embarrassing.
And what do you say to the rumours that you originally did the show firstly to get free tickets to a music festival?
Yeah.
I say slander.
And when I say rumours, I mean fact.
Yeah.
So yes, that is where what happened was someone had approached me after that first show about pitching for to make a little kids show for RT, which is like the Irish national broadcaster. And I met up, Aaron and I met up, and we like brainstormed. Very very generous word for what we did. We were like bears in space. So I actually wrote like a couple of like minute-long episodes of these two Russian bears in space who were like trying to teach like Earth history to their planet, and they're like, Julius Caesar, he invented AK-47. Really weird, stupid stuff.
It had to be on a very low budget, so it was just going to be like
Just
a
get
cardboard box
puppets in
well
front of
designed,
tinfoil or
and then
something.
two puppets just talking about the history of the world.
And amazingly,
Retroactively from the future in space.
yeah, it somehow didn't get picked up.
Weird.
But
It's the
then,
oversaturation.
yeah. But our producer Matt produces a few companies. I think this is how it happened. And
The fifth bear, as no one calls it.
and a music festival had been in touch. They had a theatre stage, and they were looking for theatre stuff to put on. And Matt just included the name Bears in Space in the list, and he was like, "Oh, but I'll take that." And we literally made the show in like a week
And
and
it
a
was
half.
like 4 years ago, like last
It wasn't
week.
like this show at all.
Was it 3 years ago or 4 years ago?
4 years ago last
4
week.
years ago last week.
Which is leading on to my next question, which might be difficult to answer, so you can just look at me blankly and we'll move on. But as you have been doing so far, the show has changed quite a great deal. So the show has been performed in Dublin, been performed in Edinburgh, been performed in London, and it's changed quite a great deal. You four have obviously been the constants in it, but how have you found working together as a collaborative group in terms of changing elements of the show, deciding what needs to be changed? How does that kind of process usually generally work? So Owen, you're of course the writer, but it's quite a collaborative process.
Super collaborative.
The script is there. The first script for this kind of the Electric Picnic version was kind of like so long ago that it only had like some characters and then some of the narrative arc that's in it now. But the script that we have now, like at its base, was there kind of since the beginning, and we have changed.
Yeah.
When we did it,
It's-
when we did it in
the
the Edinburgh
frame-
Fringe,
yeah.
it was quite fringy, you know, if you know fringe. I can't describe it any better than that.
The stage was literally like this size, and we all our press photos, or all the photos on the posters and stuff. We wore black and lycra, and it was.
It's more like a sketch show than it
more
was.
like
But I think
play.
when we were bringing it on after Edinburgh, Owen wanted to make it into slightly more of a play. Even like it obviously still has the ghosts of sketch comedy and fringe sensibilities. But again, I can't put it any better than that.
It's basically mutated into an unstoppable force.
Yeah, I think that's a good
A
line to
hideous
draw on that
beast.
question. And then And then, as I said, the show has been all around the world at this point.
Next up, Abu Dhabi.
How have you found the reaction to it? And obviously, some of the humour in it is odd. Quite strange. Yeah. So, I mean, how have you...
Wait for it to do that.
How have you found the reaction to it? How have you found reaction to certain bits in general? And is there apprehension, for instance, when you do a character like, I don't know, Skin?
I suppose there is. I mean, I don't think I mean, with some of the weird comedy, it's like you're meant to find it weird. You're meant to be kind of put off by it. So if people kind of find it normal or not weird, then that's almost a letdown, you know. So it's like you're trying to slightly disconcert people in an entertaining way.
It still dies on its arse sometimes. It's like, it's me, Skin! But like literally, I think the other day we saw about 5 people sleeping. We're literally shouting at you. We couldn't be doing any more sense, you know, like.
But what has been nice is that I think some of us were not apprehensive, but we had no expectations about what an American audience would.
We're all happy to move on from that accent.
Like you know, if you're like from America, you're gonna like really. Well, we were hoping you're gonna enjoy the show. That's all you can kind of hope for. But so I think
you're paid professionally to act.
But in the past week, it seems like the humor is something that an American audience enjoys. We're certainly a 59 audience, which has been nice.
And have you found that like have certain bits gone better at other places you've done it? Has the reaction kind of broadly been the
Well, there's
same?
some like slang and stuff, some Irish slang or like Irish accents or different little bits that. Oh, I mean, like there's one. I mean, there's one joke that. No, I'm thinking about the Braille joke where I say.
Oh, we can't.
This has been a joke we've tried to make funny for literally years. For some reason, it's still not funny. It's when the mayor guy goes, "Oh, I do hope you like jail. I mean Braille. Yes, you'll be needing to learn a lot of Braille with all the time you'll be spending in my dark Braille." And for some reason, no one finds that hilarious. But that's got nothing to do with this audience. It's pretty much a universal. At least there's consistency in our lack of humor.
A unifying non-laugh.
Yeah. It's the one thing binding us all together.
A question for Cameron as well, because I haven't been directing many questions to you. And we will, of course, get your injury in a second as well. Are the rumours true about there being a sequel in the works?
That actually was at one point. The shadow puppets at the end used to say, Borgash, Volyoga, Buried in Space in the picture of the two of them, and then it said to be continued at the bottom.
But see, can I be a nerd about that for a second?
Yeah.
I think that was before we had this kind of frame of the storykeeper and his sons.
Which is a relatively recent addition.
Yeah, well, that was from like the London run, and that's when we kind of made it all wood and like kind of beige and like kind of grim sort of.
Yeah. And it's the only opportunity I've been given to play an authoritative kind of patriarch.
Which brings me quite nicely onto the last question before we put over to the audience. What happened?
Sorry, to interject before you explain. A lot of people might not have seen the cast that Cameron is wearing.
Hands up who noticed that his hand was broken.
Oh, surprisingly few.
Well, you guys are very close to him.
Good costume.
It was last.
Show the people, Cameron.
Yeah. So it's actually not a cast.
that's kind of
Split.
yeah, it's a split. So it's kind of like there's this kind of plaster on this side and nothing on this side. But basically, I was in Bushwick. Last and I wagered Owen that I would be able to jump over a sandwich board.
Wagered is the strongest word.
Bring out the sandwich board. We have it here, ladies and gentlemen. We have it here.
We had been betting each other if we could jump over things all day. Like, I bet you can't jump over.
Happened once. You guys both successfully jumped over a chair.
Both clear.
About 3 hours later, we're walking in the street. Cameron sees the sandwich board, literally about as high as my chest, and says, "Do you bet me I can jump over that?" And I say, "Absolutely not." I believe my exact words were, "You definitely can." And
I mean, say you can't, he was already gone.
I hadn't even stopped talking, and he had run, jumped, and just rinsed himself. Like took it out. The bouncer was being like, "What's going on?" And then Cameron's like, the word is like, you have to pick it up.
I had to go to the hospital and kind of maintain some sort of face in my anecdote as to what happened, but I basically said that yes, I had had a few drinks because they kind of need to know that, and I said that I had like gone across the road, run across the road, weaved between
Trying to catch a light.
yeah, and then kind of caught my foot on the curb. And
after
so I
we
was
were
like,
behind
so,
this curtain.
all right, you ran across the road and then you put your foot on the curb. You must have gone slightly. So you went slightly airborne, and then I was like, yeah, I'd say I went as high as a sandwich.
Well, I need a quick round of applause for Cameron.
It was good news when we found out he could still play.
Indeed it was. Do you have any questions from the audience, guys? Don't be shy.
How does it feel to be in New York as part of the first Irish Festival? I believe the only festival devoted only to Irish playwrights.
It's great, and it feels like a. I don't feel like a playwright among the other playwrights who are here, like Conor McPherson and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very nice. It's just really nice. It's
So we keep like pinching ourselves, like you get wrapped up in the minutiae of like, oh, like, that bit didn't go well. It's like, oh, I was late or whatever.
Cameron broke his wrist.
Yeah, Cameron broke his wrist. You know,
That's like things.
yeah. You know, Aaron has that STI.
And the sandwich board.
Bring out the sandwich board. But what is nice is when you take a step back and you beat me up.
How's George Dance?
That's not a real person. It's nice to step back every once in a while and realize how lucky we are to like be in this wonderful city in this nice theater to performing our show.
And would you say the New York crowd is the best crowd you've ever had?
Yes.
Any less sycophantic questions than that one going to ask yourself there? Yes, the lady is there, please.
I don't know if this is the kind of question you're supposed to ask in a talk track, but I guess I wonder how like reliable of a narrator you guys see the storykeeper as being.
Actual question.
Have her removed.
That's a very good question. I'm gonna go to Cameron first for an answer, and then Owen, I'm gonna go for the actual answer.
I think
Good start.
I've thought much about this. But yeah, he as I see it, he's kind of like this sort of tough love type dad, really, and yeah, he's just kind of driving them to perform.
But do you think he embellishes like the facts of the
The
memory or
reliability
anything like that?
nature,
Or leaves things out, or puts things in?
I don't think he's that malign. But at the same time, you know, there may be a little bit of a difference in opinion between us two. I like to think he's kind of like, you know, slightly benevolent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of he has that vibe of like someone who tells you that they're popular.
Yeah.
Like like. So maybe that's
So maybe
where
like
he
there's
meets
a-
Gorgash.
like there's
It's
a-
like my old friend, like I was out with Judi Dench, and she said, that kind of.
I like the idea of like him being like there are loads of different story keepers, and like he's kind of like a bad one, and it's like, please don't leave, tell them all it's going fine. Stories. So the honest answer is we have absolutely no idea. We're very reliable.
Well, it sounds like the stories are mostly accurate, but there's a degree of personal desperation for the character which might cloud and obscure that.
That's true of us as performers as well.
The way I think about it, like because I'm a really good guy, the story keeper is a really good guy.
Theatre.
I think story keeper has a fractured wrist as well.
I think there was another question back there. Was there?
Yeah. Before the set was wood and there was the frame of the family. What was the frame and what was the aesthetic?
I actually don't.
I think it was the same aesthetic, just without the frame.
We did still have a narrator, right? We literally performed that show about 50 times.
It was the story keeper was still there, but he didn't have sons that were performing the story, and we were just actors ourselves. Like there was no characters playing the puppets. It was just a story keeper at the side, and he started the show saying the same stuff he does now, but without the Agatha Christie stuff.
Jane Austen.
But I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty sure that the aesthetic was the same, save for the costumes, which were.
No, we didn't have the set either.
We were wearing like futuristic cycling costumes essentially.
It was just a little bit less developed. See, as the actual theatre company, Claps and Horse, of which this is only one play, and it's probably not even that representative, because its kind of trajectory has been so weird and kind of unique to this group of people, rather than like a script and a director and stuff. Even though there are those things, kind of. As a company, we've kind of been doing a lot of stuff about storytelling. So kind of this idea of like both telling a story and also trying to comment, not necessarily getting super post-traumatic or postmodern or whatever about it, but just kind of having that sense of like we're actor, it really comes from Dan, our director. I think his whole kind of thing is like we should all be on stage all the time, always visible, and just never hide the strings, which is something we kind of like, that like always you can see us put the puppets on.
It's just easier to.
It's all.
So I think, Erica, are we running out of time?
One more question.
One more question, yeah. Who thinks they've got the better question?
Right. How about ask the question at the exact same time, and then we'll answer them at the exact same time.
Two. Okay, perfect. That's much easier. We go to you first.
Yeah. So Owen, you wrote the script, but what's the percentage of improv that you guys did?
It's weird because 20%.
Right.
I wouldn't say so. For tonight.
It's hard to describe, because what it is like the improv doesn't really. The improv is like injecting like an air bubble into the vein of the bit that's already there.
It's kind of like an aneurysm.
Yeah, effectively.
If you've known it for so long, is what you're saying, that it's sort of evolved.
Like the improv is kind of, we have these moments where they're not really improv, but they're like quite like loose. They're so layered at this stage from doing the show so many times that like we can kind of make each other laugh very easily now. Like there's one bit which has been making me kind of quietly course the last few days, which is, it's so dumb, but it's like it says, you're going to run out on me, and me and Aaron kind of both go, no, and then turn to each other and we're like, yeah, let's run. And like, it's such a dumb joke.
For a long time it was very loose and very sloppy and improv-y, and we had to make a shift to actual theatre piece that is good in its own right and could be a play without just the puppets and like puppet gags.
Yeah.
So we made that shift into like a different gear of good showing without relying on like corpsing or like just stupid gags or like
Without needing laughs so much as well, because like, I think partly that's coming out of Edinburgh and stuff as well, where like there are nights where you just are not, like are getting nothing, and you kind of reach a point where you're like, okay, this has to be able to function without people laughing, which it probably doesn't, but at least not notionally does.
But the sector sex thing was a complete mistake.
That was
I just said it completely incorrectly.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you just gotta roll with.
I love that. Not to keep it zero any longer than I'm sure you all desperately want to leave, but
You're not leaving.
the drinks, the like Metrotopia cocktails bit, that's quite. Like the lines aren't really written.
Yeah, when
you know what I mean? But we know what's going to happen. Like it's some sort of like, I had one for you, yeah. And they're like, oh, so this one's for me. And it's just going to be some sort of like.
Yeah.
I think the script literally says like italics with riff.
Go for the last question.
Yeah. Do you have a vision for the future of this show? Like after it's run in New York, do you have a next step? Do you consider it like probably going to evolve from here and go through other iterations? Are you working on something new?
Could you please rephrase the end of the question again?
Yeah, no, are you working like as a group? Are you like as you're giving this performance? Are you thinking about like what comes next? Are you currently writing something, Owen? Like how I guess are the timelines for these types of things work?
Very good question. Yeah.
I'm writing a show that's going to go on next year in Dublin and Edinburgh and hopefully London. But it's not really anything like this, I guess. But it will involve a lot of the same kind of people but I guess this show is just very, like I said, it's kind of a weird place in the company and what we're doing. Like we're really like it. We're a real theatre company. You shouldn't have to say that, I swear. But so yes, I'm working on a show, but it's not.
And then there are other shows in development and being performed actually at the moment in Ireland.
In Dublin Fringe, we have a show called The Aeneid, which is like Waking Up, which is opening in like 2 days, I think.
Yeah. So there are a few projects kind of on the go, and there's a whole like 5-year plan that
we're taking control of a comedy festival as well in Dublin.
Taking control, so we're benevolent,
So Kenny Cat Laughs is called. We're taking control of it.
I think also this particular show, is there a future life for it again? Is there a talk? You said a while ago that it was originally planned as a TV show, or is it potentially how you talk about like making it into a film or animation stuff or anything like that?
I think it'd be
this show.
I think it'd be a really cool animated film. I think.
Yeah, we all love animation, especially like real weird, goofy stuff.
Futurama, like Adventure Time, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, well, like I'm not really sure. We've
Is
had
anyone out there? Is anyone a TV producer?
We've had like the odd email or whatever.
No, it's okay as well.
Yeah.
Judging by the past of what's happened with the show, something else probably will happen. This is a good conclusive answer, I think.
We got there in the end. Cool. I think we're going to wrap it up, guys. Just on.
Thank you to Ross, by the way. He'll be singing jazz standards in the bar later on.
Just on a personal level, having seen 7 different versions of this show, having seen it at that music festival a long time ago, it is fantastic that you're here and doing so well in New York. So guys, a big last round of applause for the person.
See you, karaoke.